Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of Playing World of Tanks. I'm AJ, and today we'll be looking at a game that I had in my Su-122-44, which is the Russian Tier 7 premium tank. Now, this is going to be an interesting game on Malinovka. I primarily chose this gameplay because some of the late game spotting mechanics and camouflage mechanics sort of like come into play, so hopefully you'll all have somewhat of a better understanding as to how those things work. Also, it's a good showcase of how to actually break a camp on Malinovka, which is something that is pretty rough to do sometimes, just because there's so many enemy tanks and so many TDs that can shave off a lot of hit points from your tanks rather quickly. So the odds of you actually checking every bush with your face results in you actually dying. So this game is a good showcase of how to sort of avoid that. Now, the first things first is right off the bat, our scout who was in platoon with us, one of our friends actually gets taken out, and that will somewhat be not as costly, but if he was alive, it would have been a much different game. Secondly, my platoon mate mitigator gets a really good game as well, and he helped secure the hill, which was very important in this game. Now, Malinovka is a very hill dependent game. You have to secure the hill because it controls such a vast majority of the map. If you have the hill secured, you basically control about half the map, which is a lot. In a lot of other maps, there's no one single position that you control that lets you dominate the map as heavily as this one does. Now, I spot the AMX 5100 in the open. I take a shot at him. He manages to pen me as well. So it's an even exchange at this point. In reality, I should not have actually taken this shot from him. I should have just backed off as soon as I kind of like realized he was going to be spotted. Now he tries to take another shot at me as I'm going towards the left and doesn't manage to hit me. Over here I see the KV-3 in the distance who's been spotted, and whatever his last position is, I'm gonna take a rough shot. I actually don't manage to pen him or hit him in this case, so no harm done at this point. Now the enemy is slowly moving towards the hill. I'm just spotting over this and making my team aware of what is actually coming towards them. Now this shot here was kind of odd because I actually don't know what actually shot me. The tanks that I could account for did not actually turn around to take a shot at me, so I was kind of wondering at this point, was there another tank there that was missing? And later you'll find out what that tank was, but there's a tank there, and he's the one who's taking these shots at me. Over here I would get a rough chance at taking a shot on the IS, but he moves towards the left at just the right time, and that makes it extremely difficult for me to sort of connect the shot. Now, one of the other things that you want to keep in mind is you want to somewhat keep an eye on who is dying and by what, because that will, if between downtimes and when in the action, that will tell you where certain tanks are. For example, this T-34-3 on my left hand side will actually be killed by an ISU. If he's been killed by an SU, there's only so many places he could have been taking shots at him without actually being spotted, and that will sort of like dictate some of my actions later on. So over here I'm still manning this area right here, hoping to land some shots on the enemies as they go up the hill. This is not actually a bad spot if you play this correctly in a good tank. Now this is actually the tank that was taking shots at me, the M41, who was sitting in a very odd spot, because this place is not generally an area that you will see a lot of scouts in, but he just decided that he was gonna sit in this bush. And that is one of the reasons why your assumptions are just assumptions, because human beings react very differently, and some of them are wildly unpredictable, like this M41 was. Now there's still one more tank that hasn't been spotted. That's one of the keys, and that's the EMX on the enemy team. Now I take a shot on this IS who's exposing way too much of his side over the hill, and that's why when you go up the hill you want to hug the red line. Now the IS gets taken out, and this AMX 5100 is kind of late to the party. He should have tried to come here earlier than he did, and it's just he just makes it very easy for me to take him out. And that was really bad play on his part, because he actually saw me in this position, and I had been spotted a number of times since then. So he just did not think about the fact that I would have shots from where I was sitting. If he had gone like slightly further around, it could have been a very different game. So these are one of the things you want to keep in mind. When you see tanks, you want to, like, in your mind, sort of like have a rough picture of where their field of fire is and try to avoid it to the best of your abilities. Again, we finally secured hills, so that means a lot of the area on this side of the map is now in our control. And here's where spotting actually will become useful. Once this IS-3 vacates the hill completely, and we will just have an easy time trying to pick off anything that's been left behind. Again, we see a T-32 who's trying to come here, and again, he's really late to the party. If he wanted to, have me removed, he should have done that sooner. And the hill was contested still, and my team could not focus him down fast enough. Excuse me. Now again, I'm just trying to spot people for my team. Since I don't have gun depression, I don't think I will be shooting anybody here. So that's just what you want to do. Even without gun depression, you're kind of useful to the team. But I was not going to just camp in the back somewhere and hope to get damage. I want to influence the games. I play Journey my tanks very aggressively. So over here, I'm trying to get enough gun depression to shoot the M41. Just don't have it, and T-32 moves within proxy spot of me, so I'm not interested in sort of like trying to take a shot from the M41. But he managed to land one anyways. This time, he either moves up or I get lucky in finding enough gun depression to shoot him. And again, like, if you're in a scout, like if you're spotted, you're doing something wrong. That's the key to playing a good scout is not being spotted. Now I'm trying to take out this IS in the distance, and even though he's not within the center of my reticle, I'm still going to take shots. And the reason for that is that due to dispersion of your gun, there's a chance that the shell that you're firing will actually go low and hit him. And that is what I'm hoping for, that hopefully that the shell goes low and actually plants right into him. Now I see the T-32 is trying to sort of like get gun depression over this ridge to shoot me, and I'm wondering at this point that why is my team not shooting him. And I kind of like realized that that's because he's using that little bit of house in front of him to sort of like block his tank off. And what I do is I just take out his cover, and that leaves him exposed to the guns on the hill. At this point, I was contemplating that he was looking in the other direction, and maybe I should take him out. But thankfully, somebody on our team actually manages to do just that. Now this IS is spotted in the distance, and how he actually reacts will actually show you that he hasn't actually spotted me. And even though I take the precaution of actually moving away after I take this shot, I start backing off because his turret started turning. I did not know whether he actually spotted me or not. But like as I go forward, you can see that he actually hasn't spotted me, because if he had, he would have taken a shot in my direction. That is another thing. If you don't have sixth senses, you can generally tell whether you're spotted or not by how the enemies react to you taking a shot. Again, I shot at him. He did nothing. Like, his turret was pointed in the other direction, so it seems like his crew isn't that good and his spotting range is pretty poor. So this time I actually get more bold. I actually get over the top and put a shot into him. At this point I kind of thought I would definitely be spotted for this one, but I wasn't, so I was kind of just surprised. that I'm not that far away from him, so I don't know why I wasn't spotted for firing a shot. You have to keep in mind that the TDs have camouflage factors that do not go down to 0 when they're firing their guns. They still retain part of their camouflage, and if they're far enough away from you and your view range is bad enough, you might not be able to spot them. So that's why you have to get in real close to sort of like see a TD sometimes. And that doesn't like apply for all TDs, but some of the TDs, like the RHM and some of the Russian TDs, it actually does apply for. Now, thankfully, he gets taken out, and I know there's only one person on my left side. That's the KV4. At this point, I kind of assumed that the ISU hadn't moved up in this direction, and the reason for that is that he would have actually either have killed somebody by now on the hill, because I'm pretty sure the people on the hill were actually spotted at some point. And since none of them actually died, I'm kind of assuming at this point that he actually is sitting somewhere within their spawn point and has been unwilling to move up to help his team. As soon as I take the shot, I basically dive into this corner right here, and here's where I'm gonna start using spotting to help out my team. One other thing you want to note is on the Su122-44, I run binos and I forego stuff like GLD. And the reason for that is I find binos or quoted optics, whichever one you want to use. Actually, I run quoted optics. I don't know whether I said binos or not. So, so quoted optics or binos will help you in this situation where you actually need to spot the enemies and get shots on them. So since I didn't spot anything, I kind of like moved back, and I'm gonna use this little hill to see if I can spot some the KV4 that went down first, and maybe hopefully spot something else. Now, one other thing you want to note is if somebody else has better view range than you, then doing something like this might be actually detrimental, because he might actually just be able to spot you. And the reason for that is that your camouflage factor goes to 25% when you're moving, and even though for a TD it's still pretty good, it's not 100%. So something like that sometimes is can be the difference between you dying and you living. So you want to keep those things in mind. Now, I had loaded APCR for the KV4, but I would happily use it on the AMX as well. And the reason for that is the AMX is really fast tank, and I need the velocity on my shells to be high to sort of like reach their target as quickly as they can. Now, I spot the ISU to my right, and sort of my assumption pays off in that regard, and I run towards the left side of the ridge to hide myself from his gun. At this point, it's just going to be a cleanup. Team moves in from both sides, and you take out the last 3 tanks. But hopefully, this was a good showcase of how to play this game. Now, one other thing, I have a question for all the viewers who view sort of like my videos a little bit more regularly. I have another series sort of like planned in mind regarding World of Tanks, and we'll certainly be dealing with situational awareness and what to do in certain situations. I'm also playing War Thunder, just planes a lot, so if you're interested in any of those, leave a comment, and it will sort of like help me decide which one should I incorporate into my channel. Either or works. I can go over some of the mistakes I make in some situations, so we can have some more different content that sort of like deals with decision making in World of Tanks. So hopefully I get to hear from you, and I'll see you on the next episode of Playing World of Tanks.